Time moves forward. Language, however, allows us to look back. Standard English instruction often relies on a specific mechanic for reported speech. It suggests that when you relay what someone else said, every verb moves one step backward into the past. Under this model, the direct speech is a fixed point, and the report is shifted back a tense. I am happy becomes he said he was happy. This logic works for simple exercises, but it struggles to account for how we actually use the language to communicate in the real world. Following this rule as a strict law overlooks how English grammar functions to describe the current state of the world. Tense shifting is often a reflection of current reality. We can describe this as temporal truth-value anchoring. Understanding this involves looking at how we handle ongoing situations, contradictions, and the structural requirements of the verbs we choose. In this framework, the rigid line to the past breaks. Instead, the reported verb connects directly to whether a statement is still true in the present. The verb choice indicates whether the original statement still holds up at the moment it's being reported. Moving from a mechanical rule to this structural approach explains why the same sentence can be reported in multiple ways depending on the context. We start with persistent truth. This occurs when a reported situation remains identical at the exact moment the speaker is reporting it. Take Paul, for example. He says, "My new job is boring." This diagram shows two valid ways to report his statement. Both resulting paths are grammatically correct. Path A uses the traditional backshift. Paul said his job was boring. This satisfies standard textbook instruction. Path B uses the present tense. Paul said his job is boring. Because the job remains boring at this moment, this construction is also valid. Maintaining the present tense signals to the listener that the reported condition is an ongoing reality. However, an ongoing state is different from a finished event. Consider someone leaving a room and saying, "I have to go." We can apply the same model. Path A, he said he had to go, is valid. Path B, he said he has to go, fails. The act of leaving is finished. Using present tense creates a contradiction since the person is no longer there. When a situation has ended, the past tense shift becomes a functional requirement to maintain accuracy. We also use these structures when a reported statement conflicts with what we can see in the present. For instance, Rachel claims Joe is in hospital. Later, you meet Joe, who is healthy, on the street. The textbook illustrates this clash. We have Rachel's claim and the physical interaction with Joe. Rachel's claim was made in the past, but Joe is standing right there in the present. Look at the verb required in the response. Rachel said you were in hospital. Using the past tense here creates distance between the speaker and a claim that is no longer accurate. We can see this again in exercise 48.1. Sarah previously stated, "Dave is lazy." When Sarah later says, "Dave works very hard," the required response uses the past tense. "But you said he was lazy." In conversation, backshifting allows us to point out inconsistencies and address statements that no longer align with the facts. Beyond time and truth, we must also consider syntax. The difference between the verbs say and tell is a matter of how they interact with a listener in a sentence. This whiteboard graphic shows a specific constraint. The strike-through over say somebody shows that say cannot be followed directly by a listener. We can express this as a structural equation. Tell requires a direct listener before the reported clause. Below it, the equation for say shows that it links directly to the reported clause. The exception is when say is followed by the preposition to, as in, Anna said goodbye to me. Tell requires a specific target for the information, while say focuses on the content of the statement itself. Finally, we look at how the language handles commands and requests. These statements operate differently because they do not follow standard backshift rules. Section D shows this shift. The direct command, "drink plenty of water," becomes, "the doctor told me to drink." The structure for reported commands uses the speaker, the verb told or asked, the listener, and an infinitive. The infinitive verb, to drink or not to work, serves as the anchor for the report. Commands describe a desired future rather than a past event, so they use a different grammatical structure entirely. These different elements work together to form a consistent system. We have seen how ongoing truths, contradictions, and verb syntax all influence our choices. This summary shows how these factors interact to determine the correct form of reported speech. English grammar functions through these specific, logical constraints. Reported speech provides the specific tenses and structures needed to accurately relay information and its relationship to the present.